Big bore two-strokes. Huge single-cylinder two-stroke dirt bikes. Very, very classic in the 80s to early 90s, and then even in the 2000s. We're going to start off the video with the CR500. Now, this is a more common big bore two-stroke. If anyone mentions a big bore two-stroke, really the CR500 comes up as one of the top bikes of the era. And the first production model was in 84, and the last one was in 2001. So they were made from 84 to 2001. The 85 to 89 had more bottom end power, and the newer years after 89 had less compression and redesigned pipe and head, so the power band was a little bit more smooth, and the bottom end power wasn't as great as those early models, but they were lighter, and eventually they did put an aluminum frame, I believe, on the 2000 and 2001. They used the aluminum frame, which made it a lot lighter and a lot more modern. So that's basically the CR500. Just a little bit about it. Moving on, guys, we have the CR480. So this was the pre-CR500 Honda big bore two-stroke. It was made from 82 to 83, and it produced about 52 horsepower. The 82 had the 4-speed, and the 83 had the 5-speed. It replaced the earlier CR450 of the late 1970s. The CR480 still had that kind of old style look to the bike. It didn't have the modern 80s dirt bike look yet, but it did have more power than the 450 CR, and it did compete quite well with the YZ490's and all the other big bores of the 82 and 83 model years. Here's a little picture so that's of the CR480 and what it kind of looked like. I'm not sure if this is the 82 or 83, but as you can see, the design looks like the older series bikes. It doesn't have that modern mid-80s look yet. It still has that big finned cylinder with the pipe that kind of doesn't have many bends in it or anything. It's just kind of straight and goes back to a different silencer. But that's the CR480, guys. Next up is the KX500. The KX500 was well-known, just like the CR500, and there was plenty of those out there. I will get a picture for you guys in just a second. Here's a picture of the KX500, guys. This looks like the mid to late 80s version of the KX. And the KX500, it was made from 83 to 2004. There was 4 generations of the KX500. The first gen was 83 to 84. And then the second gen was 85 to 86. And the third gen was just in 1987. And then fourth gen, that's from 88 to 2004. The last year that they made them. So 4 generations. The KX500, really, really desirable bike. A lot of them actually still out there today, along with the CR500s. You can get KX500s. They're not crazy rare or anything like that. And they did make plenty of power. There was air-cooled in 83 and 84, and then 85 they switched to liquid-cooled, just like the CR500s. And a lot of guys still have them today, and they have. Next up, guys, we have the Mako 490. This was an older bike, similar to the 480s, and it was mainly to compete against the KTM 495s. Here's a picture of the Mako 4. I think this is a 490. Yes, it is the 490. They also made a Mako 700 and a few other bikes in the 400cc range. They were kind of not as well known as the big Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha name brands, but they did perform very, very well on the track. And the Mako 490 was made primarily between 81 and 83. And there was 3 different versions, the motocross, desert, and enduro versions. And they were mainly built to compete against the KTM 495. The power was kind of similar, and how they were built was kind of similar to the KTM 495 as well. But very, very cool looking bikes, guys. They're a little more rare, and it's going to be a little bit harder to find a Mako 490 nowadays. Moving on, guys, we're going to have the YZ490 next. Here is the YZ490. This is going to be the mid-80s model in the picture that you guys are seeing. The YZ490 was made from 82 to 89, and it replaced the YZ465 and competed against the KX500 and CR500s of the big bore two strokes. They did come out with a WR500 in 1991, which used the same engine as the 490s, but it had a bunch of improvements in engine design to reduce all that pinging. And they also made a YZM500 or YZ500, but there was only 6 models ever made, and they never really left the factory. But it was a liquid cool design that they were kind of testing out for their YZ models to come. So YZ490, very, very classic bike. There is a few more of those out there. They're not crazy rare. You can probably still find one. And there's plenty of model years that they made them. So you could either get a YZ465 or 490. You could probably still find them today. Next and last up is going to be the KTM 495 and the KTM 500. Here's a quick picture of the WR500, guys, just so you know what it looks like. Very, very nice looking bike, and was made, I think, just 1 year in 1991, possibly 1990, and there was very, very few of those on the market, if at all, so very, very hard to find one of those WR500s. Moving on to the KTM. Here's the KTM 500, guys. There's also the KTM 495. They were made between 81 and 89. The 81 to 84 was the 495, and then after 85 to 89 was the KTM 500. The KTM 500 was more of a modern bike, and it was really similar in design to the CR500, and they were made up to 1989. As you can see here, this would be a late 80s KTM 500. Has the newer kind of style with the really curved header pipe, liquid cooled, obviously, and it looks kind of like a CR500. The 81 to 84s were that air-cooled, big finned cylinder, similar to the CR480s, and it looked kind of similar as well. So that's the list I compiled of the big bore two-strokes, the most common and the most with information out there today. There is a few other weird kind of big bore two-strokes that I couldn't really find much information about. If you guys have any other bikes that I didn't mention, leave them in the comments down below and let me know if I missed anything. And I would look forward to looking at the comments. Also, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more videos like this. Go check out all our other videos.